This is the news track and I'm Marya Shakil. At the RSS's 100th anniversary event, Prime Minister Narendra Modi warned that India faces a serious challenge not just from outsiders but from changes within its own population. He said that while India's strength lies in its unity despite diversity, growing divisions based on caste, language and religion are weakening that unity. The Prime Minister has also called these demographic changes a threat to social equality and has warned that they could harm India's harmony, country's harmony and progress if not addressed. And he has stressed that there is a need to be alert and work together to protect India's unity for the future. And while the warning was national in tone, it hits particularly close to home in states like Assam and Bengal, where rapid demographic shifts have already triggered political tensions and long-standing fears about identity and infiltration. We'll decode the population politics on News Track tonight, but first up, let's listen in to what the Prime Minister said.
स्वागत अभिनंदन आप सबके करतल ध्वनि के साथ करें देवीय सज्जनों। देवीय सज्जनों, आज जब हम राष्ट्रीय स्वयंसेवक संघ के 100 गौरवशाली वर्षों का उत्सव मना रहे हैं,
Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Wednesday attended the centenary celebrations of the RSS at the Dr. Ambedkar International Centre in New Delhi. To mark the occasion, Prime Minister released a commemorative postage stamp and coin. Prime Minister Modi, a long-time member of the Sangh, praised the organization's legacy and values, calling RSS a symbol of discipline, service and sacrifice.
संघ की एक धारा अनेक धारा तो बनी, मल्टीप्लाई तो होती गई, लेकिन उनमें कभी विरोधाभास पैदा नहीं हुआ, डिवीजन नहीं हुआ, क्योंकि हर धारा का विविध क्षेत्र में काम करने वाले हर संगठन का उद्देश्य एक ही है, भाव एक ही है, राष्ट्र प्रथम, नेशन फर्स्ट.
Prime Minister also spoke emotionally about historical injustices done to RSS leaders.
हमने देखा है कैसे आजादी के बाद भी संघ को कुचलने का प्रयास हुआ, मुख्य धारा में आने देने का और उसे न आने से रोकने का अनगिनत षड्यंत्र हुए. परम पूज्य गुरु जी को झूठे केस में फंसाया गया, उन्हें जेल तक भेज दिया गया, लेकिन जब पूज्य गुरु जी जेल से बाहर आए, तब परम पूज्य गुरु जी ने बहुत सहजता से कहा था, कभी कभी जीभ दांतों के नीचे आकर दब जाती है, कुचल भी जाती है, लेकिन हम दांत नहीं तोड़ देते, क्योंकि दांत भी हमारे हैं और जीभ भी हमारी है. आप कल्पना कर सकते हैं, जिन्हें जेल में इतनी यातनाएं दी गई, जिन पर भांति भांति के अत्याचार हुए, उसके बाद भी परम पूज्य गुरु जी के मन में कोई रोष नहीं था, कोई दुर्भावना नहीं थी. यही परम पूज्य गुरु जी का ऋषि तुल्य व्यक्तित्व था.
He also warned of new age threats, pointing to demographic changes and attempts to divide the country's unity.
साथियों, सामाजिक समरसता को आज डेमोग्राफी में बदलाव के षड्यंत्र से, घुसपैठियों से भी बड़ी चुनौती मिल रही है. यह हमारी आंतरिक सुरक्षा और भविष्य की शांति से भी जुड़ा हुआ प्रश्न है, और इसलिए मैंने लाल किले से डेमोग्राफी मिशन की घोषणा की है. हमें इस चुनौती से सतर्क रहना है, इसका डटकर मुकाबला करना है.
RSS General Secretary Dattatreya Hosable, who attended the event, gave a vision of the Sangh and United Bharat.
संघ को आज देश राष्ट्रभक्ति, अनुशासन, सेवा जैसे राष्ट्रीय आवश्यकताओं के प्रबल एवं सफल प्रतीक के नाते देखता है। संघ के स्वयंसेवक जीवन के प्रत्येक क्षेत्र में सक्रिय रहकर समाज को जोड़ते हुए समाज की उन्नति के, राष्ट्र की सेवा, सुरक्षा, कल्याण के कई कार्यों में आज सक्रिय हैं, उसको संपन्न कर रहे हैं।
But the centenary celebration wasn't without political heat. The Congress launched a scathing attack, accusing RSS of having played no role in the freedom struggle.
We all know that RSS was not part of the Quit India movement. They were not part of the Indian National Army with Netaji also. They were with the Britishers. When we read about Quit India movement, what history we are going to say? It's going to be only absenteeism of RSS there.
The debate around RSS legacy is far from over. With Himanshu Mishra, Bureau Report, India Today.
Professor Rakesh Sinha is RSS ideologue and former Member of Parliament. Sujata Paul is the spokesperson of the Congress. And Amitabh Tiwari is political strategist and commentator. Rakesh Sinha, when the Prime Minister links demographics to social harmony, there are two readings of that linkage. Many would say that this is preparing the ground for divisive identity politics, that is the opposition's charge. Others would say that this is about uniting the country. Could you explain the entire pitch and the platform on which this pitch becomes significant?
You know, when Prime Minister says that he declared the demographic mission, and he talks about the kind of demographic engineering in the country, he is highlighting three important factors. First, that there is a concerted efforts by a certain people, knowingly and unknowingly, to increase their population. That is going against the balance in the country, that is demographic balance. That is against the sociological balance. That is also against the cultural norms of the country. When even during the Indira Gandhi regime, there was family planning and family welfare schemes. That was considered that it should not be a authoritarian-like emergency, but the people would go by the norms of the replacement level. But this is not happening. If any law is, if any discussion on any law, it is said that it is going against the minorities or particularly the Muslim community. You just go and see the situation in Assam, the demographic change after 1950. How could it change? The almost 30 to 40% particular community, which was just 10 to 11%. 30% increase in of a particular community. Other communities decreasing. You know, the demographic imbalance is not only the change in the numerical status of the community. That when demographic imbalance makes an impact on the culture, makes an impact on the perspective of the nation, then it becomes a very, very serious issue. Will India be India or not? Will Bharat be Bharat or it will not be Bharat? That is the main reason, that is the main concern for the Prime Minister. Being the guardian of the country, he is the Prime Minister, he is the guardian of the country. He naturally highlights the issue. It is not going against a particular community or particular region, or it has nothing to do with the election. Election will come and go, but India has to stay as a nation state. So it is the demographic imbalance which led the partition of the country. This is the fact. Nobody can ignore this fact.
Okay.
Therefore,
then,
I consider that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then Sujata Paul, if this demographic challenge is a reality on the ground in certain states, then it should not be seen from the political prism. Why is the Congress calling it divisive? If there are cultural changes happening, then it's a matter of a larger concern. It should not be seen as manufactured, as you often say that it's an electoral tool in states.
Well, I don't need to say it. If you read the bunch of thoughts written by their Guru Golwalkar, it is very clear that they have always considered three enemies. The first, Muslims, second, Christians, and the third, leftists. That is why The Prime Minister uses the word urban Naxal so loosely. The fact of the matter is that from vote chores, they have become itihas chores. And that is why today they are trying to project the RSS in such light that people might forget what their past has been. Nobody will forget it because these are the people who have never believed in the constitution of the country. They have never believed in the national flag, in the democracy, in the secularism, in federalism, and that is a fact that they cannot run away from. And clearly, if they were involved even in, in the past, let's say before I come to the present about demography, they should tell us, is there one picture of one leader of theirs taken by the Britishers, which was published in any newspaper, with their flag, whichever flag they believed in, fighting for the nation? So they do not understand the spirit of this nation, and therefore what they want is a one India, which is oneness in clone form, not oneness in unity, in diversity. That is the reason why they are going to be questioned. And the fact that when the Prime Minister says nation first, is it not going to be a question on them as to why is it that they have been in power for 11 years, but now the Prime Minister is saying that you have to be worried about demography changes. And this is a word which has come in ever since the BJP came to power, and they have not been able to do anything and not given facts
Could this
to us.
demographic change, if it is a real social challenge, could this have been addressed in these 11 years that you have been in power, Rakesh Sinha? And then I bring in Amitabh Tiwari.
You are asking me?
No, that's a question to Professor Rakesh Sinha.
Yeah. You know, I'm really surprised. Some literate people, educated people behave like a illiterate ideologue. And what she is speaking, I don't understand. RSS believes in the three internal enemies, or Guru Golwalkar wrote in bunch of thoughts. You made debate on Guru Golwalkar in a bunch of thoughts. Nobody stops you. Here, there is a pointed question and pointed issue Prime Minister raised. The demographic imbalance, whether it is fact or not, whether in Assam, Golpala district, there is a great demographic transformation. Is it fact or not? In Malda and Murshidabad, Araria and Purnia and Katihar, the demographic imbalance is highlighted like the rays of the sun. And you are seeing that the Prime Minister is trying to divide the country. He is highlighting the RSL role. Then whom he will highlight? There was Guru Golwalkar, he talked about that. He was in jail. In 1950, Nehru started a food campaign program. There was a great scarcity of the food in this country. The food secretary wrote Nehru. This is all recorded history, that we require to solicit the help of RSS. Nehru said, you take help, but be clever. They are very shrewd people. Look, the Nehru. And RSS joined the food campaign. The government which banned the RSS, thousands of workers were jailed. Even the 11-year-old child was in the jail. And about this comment, I have one quote for the AG Kher. You are the congressman and minister in the United Provinces, that is now Uttar Pradesh.
Okay, Professor Rakesh Sinha.
He wrote in Maratha.
That I need to answer.
I'm coming to you, ma'am. I have one question to Amitabh Tiwari, because, you know, he will be able to give us the real ground picture. Amitabh Tiwari, to what extent does this demographic challenge narrative reflect actual ground realities? You know, because many would say it's manufactured, but give us the ground picture. What exactly is the truth on the ground?
No, see, essentially, we have to look at this statement in continuation with what the Prime Minister spoke on the Independence Day about the demography mission. Clearly linked to infiltration. And immigrants, whether legal or illegal, are an issue globally now. We've seen in Europe, US, there is a big protest against infiltrators, legal or illegal, because everywhere it is a realization that outsiders put pressure on resources. They take land, jobs, etc., as the Prime Minister mentioned in the Independence Day speech. Now, this issue, again, of infiltration is largely centered around border areas.
Yes.
We have a very tight border with Pakistan, so there is negligible infiltration there, except for maybe in form of terrorism between POK and JNK. but the larger issues remain in Assam, West Bengal, and nearby states. We do not have the census number because census has been delayed.
Yes.
So we will get to know the changes between 2011 and 25-26. Then, however, despite it being a very big issue and the government mentioning that there are 2 crore illegal immigrants, what I fail to understand is that 1.5 months has passed since the Independence Day speech. We still do not have the contours of this mission. This is a big security risk. We need to tackle this, but we need the steps from the government as to how do we stop infiltration, how do we identify the current infiltrators, and what do we do with them. We deport them, we put them in camps, etc. So I think these things need to come out clearly if the government is serious about this.
Sujata Paul, come in.
Yes. Clearly, this is not an issue. This is a manufactured issue because this is something that they are going to be talking about to create a Hindu-Muslim divide, a Hindu-Christian divide, all kinds of divide. That is the problem of the RSS. Because coming from what my previous panelists have said, it is very clear that when you talk about infiltrators, who has been in power for the last 11 years and who has been in power in Assam even before that. So clearly, the border security forces under you, the armed forces are under you, and you need to explain to us how is it that these infiltrators have infiltrated the country and the demography has changed? No, we have seen what they are doing. They are trying to make sure that people fight with each other. And this is what happened in Manipur when the Meiteis were given tribal status. This is what is being done in various parts of the country. Because let me explain here that when you have the SC/ST Act, and if in that you have a community which has been marginalized, and then you get another community which is considered to be the upper caste of that particular area, and they get the tribal status, they will not have the SC/ST Act applied on us, and atrocities will be unleashed on people. I want to understand that these are the same people who are talking about Akhand Bharat on the one hand. So what was this Akhand Bharat? So clearly there is a confusion and you will not be able to explain anything because there is no data. Where is that data? Should the data not have been collected? Should there not be a census? Should there not be a caste census to determine who resides in this country, how much of the resources are available for that particular community so that they can benefit and the country can prosper. But that is not something that they will do because it's a failure of a government and the Prime Minister, from being not biological to what he wanted to be, he has been made
Professor
biological.
Rakesh Sinha.
Clearly, this is an effort to divide the country.
Okay. Professor Rakesh Sinha, the point that was made by Amitabh Tiwari perhaps would be seen as valid. Do we have the numbers of the infiltrators? Do we have the numbers of those who are trying to disturb the country, the social harmony being impacted here as the Prime Minister is highlighting? And because 15th August has passed and we are now looking at 1st of October, is there some kind of mission which is, if it is continuity, do we have that picture or the roadmap of that mission?
I completely endorse Prime Minister's statement, not because I'm a member of his party and ex-MP. I introduced a bill on population stability in 2019. It was discussed 2 days in the Rajya Sabha. And I studied the demographic situation in the country. I am telling you why Prime Minister said so. There are 72 districts in this country where the fertility rate is 4. The average fertility rate is 1.8. Now the gap between 1.8 and 4, it is reproducing something, a new kind of sociological thing in the country. You go to Mewat, you will find the person who says that what is the cultural impact. I'm requesting that. I'm not against a particular community. This thing I'm telling that there are so many enlightened people, but their voice is suppressed by those elements who are very orthodox and an oligarchy of a particular community is projecting that community, particularly the Muslim community. I'm raising the very fundamental question. No Muslim has a problem in a Hindu majority area. He or she can stay. A single member family stay in an apartment where 190 Hindu families are. But vice versa is not true. It may be exception, but generally it is not true. So sociological change is we have nothing to do with which community is going more and which community is less. It is not important. Important is the nation first. Important is the accepting the cultural legacy of the country. Important is that accepting the things which are far behind your ages of your religion. Suppose I form a particular religion, and my followers would say that I would consider only things which start after Krishna was born. It is not true. Why we can have many religions, many sects in India has. India is a land of diversity. Without diversity, India cannot be imagined. Idea of India is if one thing which explains the idea of India, this is the diversities. That is the essence. Nothing more, nothing less. That's why I am telling you that if you want to discuss a particular topic, you should be well studied, homework. And I'm telling one thing more. The Hindu population has decreased to 1.8 average, 1.7 average. National population average is 1.7. It is 2011 data. But still Muslim population is average is more than 2. So question is not the Hindu-Muslim. Question is creating a balance.
Okay.
Which are the elements which are stopping this creating the
Sujata Paul,
balance?
quick response to Rakesh Sinha, and then I'll give the last word to Amitabh Tiwari.
The Prime Minister said मंगल सूत्र छीन के सब कुछ दे देंगे उनके जिनके ज्यादा बच्चे होते हैं. So what is Mr. Sinha talking about? I don't understand. And when you talk about fertility rate, please remember that it is people's choice also, and you should be concerned about the overpopulation also. So there are people who are also there are lots of young couples who do not want to have children, who want to have one child, and here the RSS expects everybody to have at least 2 children, and 3 also. But let me come to the NRC which was being done in Assam. 19 lakh people were put in detention centers, and out of those 19 lakh, only 30,000 were proved to be infiltrators and foreigners and sent back. If this is a fact, then you have to explain why are you demonizing people? Why are you putting people in detention centers when you do not have proof? And clearly, you have been in power for the last 11 years at the center, and you are responsible for any kind of change, any kind of infiltration. Which
I have just enough time for Amitabh Tiwari. Amitabh Tiwari, of course, you know, many would say that this is a calculation which has been done keeping in mind electoral interests, particularly states which are going to polls next year, keeping in mind Assam and the state of Bengal. But if it is a threat, it has to be addressed, and it has to be addressed right from the top of the government, which the Prime Minister himself is doing.
Of course, it's a national security risk point, and it needs to be addressed. The Prime Minister has been continuously making statements about this demography mission, and it's high time that we need some roadmap of this mission as to what the objectives it will have and how it will be achieved. See, culturally also, if you see, the infiltration in Assam or West Bengal does create issues between the Assamese Muslims and the Bengali speaking Muslims.
Yes.
There is a cultural issue also which is happening, and we need to be very, very cognizant of the fact. I think we need to have a clear roadmap now as to how to stop infiltration, identify the people, and deport themselves.
Fine enough. Thank you so much for joining us. Professor Rakesh Sinha, always pleasure having you on my shows. Sujata Paul, Amitabh Tiwari, thank you for your time here. That's all from me on this edition of the News Track. Thanks so much for watching.